Because you've got powerful legs. How'd you get the physique? Was it gym or how'd you get the physique?
I've always been...
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
That's your knowing or mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual slavery.
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
Jade Hunt. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everyone, to the 567th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse, a proud member of the Sports Social Network. We are on Spotify, we are on iTunes, we are on YouTube, we're in all those good places. If you want to leave us a 5-star review, we'd sure appreciate it. I tend to think that we put in a 5-star effort nearly every week. Who doesn't like us? All right, that's a lie. I come in half stoned. Andy watches the fights on 4-speed. Steve has fucking kids yelling in the house. It's a half-ass effort. It's on the edge of a knife every single week. But anyhow, Steve Wellings, Andy Patterson. I'm your host, Matt DiGianardo. Tim Cheatham. Interesting name for a referee, isn't it? Last night, Gustavo Lemos gave Richardson Hitchins everything that he could handle over 12 rounds. Did everything except put him on the floor. Hitchins definitely held enough that probably warranted a point deduction. Never saw that. Never really even saw much of a warning. Most observers thought that Lemos had done enough to win. Maybe sneaking down to a draw card, but from what I've seen, 115, 113 Lemos on up. Very common scorecard. You know who didn't think Lemos won the fight, Steve? Any of the 3 judges. 2 of them, 115, 113 for Hitchins, and then Tim Cheatham, Tim Cheatham, what a great name for a fucking horrible judge. 117 to 111 for Richardson Hitchins. Steve, gun to my head, Hitchins' family in front of me. I couldn't have found 9 rounds to give that motherfucker. What about you?
I'm not sure about his family. Maybe the Groat could have done from ringside, but we'll come to her. We'll come to her yet. I did notice the same as you. Cheat them. Exactly. He has had egregious scorecards in the past, as has every judge, really, but that was just utterly ridiculous. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 115, 113 from Max DeLuca and Steve Weisfeld. Could sort of see in those kind of ballparks. I just had so many issues with the fight. I mean, Cheatham's disgraceful scorecard is the glaringly obvious one. I can kind of see, I've come around a little bit. I thought this morning, I didn't think the fight was that close, to be honest. 116, 112, 117, 111 for Lemos was sort of stretching it, but it wouldn't have been out the realms of possibility. I just thought for too long, Hitchins, as Sergio Mora said in the 11th or 12th round, what I was thinking, he was fighting to keep Lemos off him. Now, he showed a lot of guts, Hitchins. I've liked him in the past when he was with the PBC. I kind of got fed up with him. The Malik Hawkins fight was the one that really did it for me. And then against John Bowser recently, I thought he should have put Bowser out of his misery. He's such a safety first fighter, Hitchins, and he has a lot of talent. And against Hawkins that night, that was the night the PBC ditched him, I believe. he just did not go to that next gear, that extra level. I know he's not a big puncher, but he's become this real defensive kind of mastermind, but it's at the detriment of his attacking instincts, really. He showed a lot of guts last night, absolutely. I'm not going to deny that whatsoever, but he never felt in control of that fight for long enough to win 9 rounds. And people talking about ring generalship and all that. You cannot tell me that Hitchins was the ring general in there at any point in the fight. It's utter
Maybe
bollocks.
if he was the French general.
Well, quite possibly. But he was on the retreat non-stop. He was doing good jabbing work at times. But he never took control of the mid-range. When his back was on the ropes, he was in trouble. Lemos, I thought, one of the only times he gave Hitchins opportunities to land was when he went southpaw. But even towards the end of the fight, he was landing shots from the southpaw stance. I thought Hitchins, he hung in there. He showed his fitness. He showed his durability and his resilience. But winning by those margins, I just can't see that at all. I think you need to count the weight of the shots. It wasn't just blind aggression. People will say, oh, you can't just come forward to win fights. I agree with that completely. You can't just come forward. But Lemos was tanking hard shots, especially to the body, all night, scoring shots. He was throwing 5 or 6 to land a couple. It wasn't just mindless aggression. And in return, Hitchins wasn't just picking him off with shots left, right, and centre. You know, we know how to score fights. We know that back foot boxing can win. We know that coming forward doesn't always mean everything. But last night, I think it was just a load of nonsense. And you've mentioned it as well. John O'Donovan mentioned it in the chat. Watching the fight, I was getting so frustrated with Hitchins' holding. It was just ridiculous. First 2 rounds, he was holding non-stop, even before he even got buzzed. And the referee, he was quick enough to give Lemos a warning for a low blow at times. The first round, he did a whole stop the fight and all about a low blow. I think he told Hitchins once, actually, about the holding, but he was just he wasn't calculated defensive manoeuvres. He was just grabbing hold of Lemos and dragging him in time and time again. The referee did absolutely nothing about it. Who is the referee? Raul Coyes Jr. I'm just looking there now. And finally, the other thing I want to moan at, I mentioned it earlier. DAZN are going to have to start doing like a declaration of interests. You know, the way sometimes in jobs you have to fill in a form every year about your declaration of interests, whether you're on like boards and all this type of stuff. Bellew's bad enough. He's shouting from ringside when his mates are there, Delborn, Anthony Joshua. But the Groat on the mic, man, she was terrible. She wasn't too bad during the night, but you see, as that main event started going on, she was openly shouting instructions to one of the fighters. You could hear her whispering on the mic. Come on.
It was ridiculous, Steve.
She's like, get off the ropes, Hitchins. Jab, that's it. I'm thinking, and then was it round 11? Mannix is like, you're supposed to be neutral, Claressa. And she did like rein it in.
And she was like quiet for long stretches, like she was worried about him and shit. It was obviously biased. And, you know, I don't really begrudge anybody for certain things, but I got to ask you, Steve, is there any doubt as to what Claressa Shields would bet on if she stepped up to a roulette table? I mean, Jesus.
Well, we are part of the UK wing of the LDBC, so I'm not going to go there, Matty, but I mean, I don't know whether it was just that, but we knew that he was her pal, and you know she was having a go at Baumgardner. I said off air as well. She said, "I'm gonna knock her ass out," even though she's knocked out 1, maybe 2 women in the whole professional career.
Yeah, she has 2 stoppages.
This punching power is going to come from to knock people out, but yeah, she was so pro Hitchins. It was just getting embarrassing towards the end.
Yeah, it was. And then her and Baumgardner lipping off to each other after the fight didn't have a good look to it. I almost wonder, because they're both there supporting Hitchins, you maybe wonder if Richardson Hitchins dicked them both down and they're fighting over Richardson.
Quite
the
possibly.
inquiring minds want to know. But Andy, for me, I know that you're kind of watching through this fight a bit on the fast side, but when it comes to this, it kind of calls back to other Argentine fighters who learned the hard way about letting go to the judges' scorecards. A fair amount of people think Marcos Maidana got the wrong end against Andre Katolnik. People think that Matisse got the wrong end against Zab Judah, and then even more so against Devin Alexander.
Alexander as well.
I speak both of those names specifically because I do think Lemos, if he stays active, if given the right fights, he might not be as hard of a puncher as those guys, but I do definitely think that Gustavo Lemos is in the vein of Lucas Matisse, Marcos Maidana, carrying on that tradition of the hard swinging Argentine puncher.
Ryan Castaño, I thought Matty actually was a good comparison.
Yeah, Castano. Yeah, but Castano's not as much of a puncher, I don't think, as Lemos, and certainly not
Yeah.
the puncher of.
He got the raw end
Tuesday.
supposedly in the first fight against
That's the thing,
Charlo.
eh? That's the thing. They do. They're road fighters at the end of the day. They haven't got the economy to bring a bigger fight to Argentina, so they've got to go on the road. And you're right, they're getting hosed. That is an outright robbery there last night. It's the same dudes, it's the same judges, the same referees allowing the same shit to happen all the time. Holding the wide scorecards, 150, 113 either side to either guy, or a draw was probably the fairest result you could get there. I think for what I've seen of it, at least in that Lemos, who I did mention last week, I couldn't recall ever seen him. He set the tone, and as Steve mentioned, I think it was around about the 5th or the 6th round. I had noticed on the ticker on 3-speed that the power punches were something ridiculous for Lemos, in terms of what he was landing. I also noted as well, I think it was around about the 8th round. I don't think Hitchins was actually even taking on board what his corner was even telling him. He looked hurt to me, or he was either heavy breathing. He looked a wee bit slightly kind of swelled up a wee bit and that, but it was he's got decent skills. And I suppose that type of fight would have been ideal if he's coming up through the ranks, but he's fighting at world level supposedly here now, isn't he? Or he's on the cusp of it at least. I just
Well,
don't
that
see...
was an eliminator. The thing is, Andy, and when I look at that fight and I say, okay, which one of these guys is a legitimate threat to potentially win a world title, and what guy at the very least needs to go back and work on some things before achieving that, even they might not have that, and they're just going to be a gatekeeper. Between those two roles last night, who would you have walked away saying each guy was? Lemos to me is the championship fighter.
Yeah, of course he is, and of course that's the type of style that a lot of fans like as well. He is aggressive, and he throws a lot of punches. He's aggressive in the body, working that as well. And Eddie, a wee bit kind of like thingy with the comments and that as well. He's saying, he needs to improve and that. Why don't you just call it the bloody joke scorecards? 170, 111. I still can't get it. It's just, to me at least, it stinks of complete robbery. You've mentioned Maidana as well. You're right. He's been robbed in the past. Kotelnik rings a bell. I remember was it the Devon Alexander fight against Kotelnik? The Maidana fight against Kotelnik as well, possibly. I seem to recall another fight. Maidana seemed to be kind of...
Yeah, that was a split decision that Kotelnik took.
Yep. So yeah, it's just unfortunate at the end of the day. But I think Lemos will get another opportunity. But Hitchins, if he's fighting the likes of, who's he fighting? Is it the Matias Paro winner? Is that who he's fighting next?
He is, and I mean, fuck me, Lemos against Matias would have been a hell of a fun fight for however long it lasted. Like, I'm not only upset that of the decision last night, I'm upset about what they potentially robbed us of down the road. That would have been a great fucking fight.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, mate. You've got a good fight there, in all terms and purposes, that you've actually been overshadowed again by scorecards and dodgy officiating. It's not every week we're talking about it, but it's close to it. And as I say, it's the same faces all the time. Tim Cheatham, it was a 10th round. I was just checking there actually. Tim Cheatham was the 10th round with Fury against Wilder. I think he gave it a draw, whereas it was actually Fury was the one on top, landing the heavy shots. And that
Right, yes.
So that I remember a big. I just seen it there. There's a big article about it in the Daily. I know.
Well, and then I'm trying to remember who the judge was that scored the second round of Tank against Garcia, even though Tank dropped Garcia.
I remember last week as well. He also scored. He had Tim Tszyu winning 116, 112 last week against Fundora. Whereas, what did you guys have that fight last week? I think pretty much all I had Fundora.
I
still haven't watched it. Oh, sorry, Steve. What did you have that fight last week? Fundora slightly edging it.
Yeah, I thought Fundora won. Yeah.
I mean, 116, 112 to Tszyu. I mean.
And as well, Andy, we were talking about it during the week in the Nuthouse chat, and it's going to be Bellew of the Week material. The judge who had Rolly ahead by a point against Isaac Pitbull Cruz last week, apparently, when that fight was stopped, someone had Rolly up 67-66 or something.
Who was it?
One of the judges, Chris Flores. It was Chris Flores, who was judging the night before Valdez against Wilson, and then he got flown over to Vegas, which is bizarre in itself, the next night, and had Rolly ahead against Cruz.
It is only 45 minutes in the air. It's fucking nothing.
I know, but how many surely they can find another judge. They could have had Tim Cheatham.
Well, how far a drive is it from Arizona to Nevada?
Pardon?
I don't know. But the point being, I mean, it's surely 2 nights, big World Championship nights in a row. They've got it. Why do they need the same guy? That's not really the issue. The fact he had Rolly up by a point was what I couldn't understand.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And Lemos gets the raw end of it. Here, and for me, it's Richardson Hitchins is a very good fighter, but he's another one of those guys in a long line of top tier amateurs, jab right hand guys who really struggle to throw shots underneath, who don't know how to come with an uppercut. He finally did kind of find it around the 5th, 6th round, but a lot of these guys, Steve, they come in here and a jab right hand does a lot of damage. But if you don't have a good hook, if you can't come underneath with an uppercut, if you're not changing your levels at any time, Steve, you're going to just be bouncing a lot of these shots off the top of these short guys' heads as they work inside of your jab. It's to me, Hitchins, he's a very incomplete fighter doing what he wants to do. And Lemos, although not perfect, is a far better, is far more rounded for the purpose he has in mind.
Mm-hmm. Dave Moretti, by the way, Matty, was the judge you were trying to think of earlier who scored the Garcia Tank second round 10-10.
I disown him as an Italian. Fuck Dave Moretti.
Yeah, exactly. No more Morettis. No, what you're saying is absolutely right. I think it's mental with Hitchins. That's what I've always thought. Very safety first. I don't know whether he's buying into the Floyd thing. I mean, if you can get away with it, why not? Floyd wasn't averse to holding people. If the referee's not going to stop you, you keep doing it until they do. They mentioned on the broadcast about the corner as well. It was quite in disarray. I saw Bob Ware was there. He's quite an experienced cornerman. They mentioned last time Shakur Stevenson was up at the ring apron shouting instructions. Seems to be a lot of advice and a lot of instructions coming into the young man's ears. But there's definitely something missing. We've seen that now. Eddie can say whatever he wants. It's not just a DAZN thing. Although against Bowser, I cannot believe for the life of me, I know I mentioned it before, I'm like a broken record, but that he let him off the hook. He was beating the living shit out of him, and he actually physically stood back off him. But against Hawkins and against other guys back on the PBC before they dropped him, very risk averse. And I don't think it's physical. He has all the physical tools that he needs. But as you said, he just can't seem to implement them. And there's a mental block going on there for Hitchins. And I don't know what it is.
He takes a punch pretty well too, Steve. Yeah. I mean, those weren't soft shots that he was
always in shape, long arms, can get inside, good body puncher. They kept asking him to throw the shots to the body. He couldn't because I think he was afraid of ducking into Lemos' shots. And God knows what Matias is going to do to him if he gets past Power, which we expect him to, because he'll be bringing that kind of Lemos style and then some, ramped up to 200, beating the shit out of him. But maybe Hitchins doesn't care. Maybe he'll take the beating and take the payday and disappear off. Maybe he doesn't even want to box. Not everybody enjoys boxing. I don't know what his mental makeup is, basically, Matty. He just doesn't seem like he wants it. And that said, he really did gut it out last night. But the judges definitely lent a helping hand.
Yeah, and when it comes to Hitchins, I have to say, I think I was quite dismissive of Haney. Just a couple fights ago, probably even. But I think that Hitchins is the fighter that I thought Haney was. And I think Haney is that complete version of Hitchins that would like to see in the ring.
That is a great comparison. He's like shed the Hitchins skin now, hasn't he, Haney? And he's going on to that next level, whereas Hitchins maybe will never get past that.
Yeah. And I think if we see Matias against Hitchins before we see Matias against Haney, which obviously both now being matchroom fighters has to be kind of the plan. I think we'll get a good idea at what Matias is going to do when it comes to dealing with a long fighter with a good jab there. But I actually secretly, Andy, I kind of think if I'm Devin Haney, and I'm looking at that fight going on, I'm going to be happy to have that extra tape with the guy, with my opponent facing a guy who's has some, reasonable similarities to the way that I fight. I think that from that fight happening, I think Haney's going to have a hell of a blueprint to go in with Matias.
That's an interesting fight, mate, to be fair, but if Haney can just negate his power shots, because Matias, trying to remember, who was his last fight against? It seemed to be, who was that against? It seemed to be...
Ergashev.
Hergeshev, that's the one. It was like he took shots early doors. He's happy to stand there and let guys tee off on him. I think that's going to be totally different with Haney. Haney's going to be buzzing and moving about him, and that. And it's a question mark if Haney holds up to the power, which I think he will, because I think Haney has proven himself to be an elite talent. Matthias will do well in the fight. I just wonder if he's going to be sustaining, not so much the pressure, but having more sustained success.
Clash of styles.
Yeah, and again, as I say, I wonder if he can be successful enough or sustain any punishment on Haney for long enough or often enough to really kind of like put a dent in him or even possibly stop him. I think he's one of those kind of like volume punchers where he is once he gets going after the first early half of the fight, and that's when he kind of picks up steam. But I just think Haney's just a different level, and I think that's what will just come down to the end of the day. It will come down to levels.
Yeah, we'll see that. It's definitely a good fight coming in down the line, and I know some people in the chat are arguing that they think that Garcia is going to go in there and beat Haney. I don't think so at this point in time. I think what the incredible talent that Ryan Garcia has is going to be completely fucking nullified by this lack of work ethic he seems to have, his lifestyle.
He's away with the fairies, isn't it?
Well, it's just the fucking... Look at the shit he's spending his time on. Like, you're going to be reading about the fucking Illuminati, like...
He's on Rumble and Odyssey, which is where we're going to end up soon if we're not careful.
He's fucking... I don't know that. Yeah, last bastion for saying whatever the hell you want, right or wrong. Hey, get away with a lot of crap. But anyways, let us not go too far down. But looking forward to seeing Hitchins get his ass kicked by Matias. Should Matias get past Pero, good fight. And I hope Lemos gets another opportunity. He's a quality fighter, and Gustavo Lemos can most certainly come again. In what was a fight that was far more competitive than the odds would suggest, Diego Pacheco had to go the distance to defeat Sean McCalman from Aurora, Colorado, about 30 minutes away from me, 45. With scorecards of 98, 92, 97, 93, and 96, 94, all giving varying levels of credit to McCalman, who, Steve, I thought wasn't always pretty, but he's an awkward fighter with pretty good timing, very long arms, and a solid jab. This is probably the most pedestrian anyone's made Pacheco look to this point in time.
Yeah, we spoke about McCalman last week. I'd seen him fight before, and I knew that he had the attributes to make things awkward. Maybe not necessarily beat Pacheco, but he uses his physical attributes very well. I think is the kindest thing we can say about him. As you mentioned, he's very long arms. He's not afraid to step back. He knew Pacheco was the favourite, the young prospect, so the onus was on Pacheco to force the fight, and he was able to step back, catching little shots here and there. I was watching the first 4 or 5 rounds with the sound turned off, doing bits and pieces, watching it in the background. And I was surprised when Mannix's scorecard came up. I think it must have been after 4 rounds, and he had it sort of 2 rounds apiece, or it was after 6 and he had it 3 rounds apiece, something like that. And I was surprised. I thought, off the highlights and what I've seen here in between rounds, Pacheco seems like he's landing the better shots. So I turned the sound on at that point to listen exactly what they were saying, and then Pacheco sort of took over, full-time fighter on the way up. McCalman's a bit of a jobber. I know he's undefeated, but he hasn't got any major promotional backing. I think I've seen him on, I don't think it was Pro Box, but it was maybe Showbox or one of the DAZN Red Owl
like
cards.
An Overtime Boxing or something.
Overtime Boxing, I think it was, against that Money Pal. Yeah, and I knew he was decent, but maybe down the stretch he might struggle. Pacheco's a big unit for the weight. He's 6'4". He's only 23. We forget he's a baby. He's 21-0 now with 17 knockouts. Have to take these things into consideration. I know he's learning as a pro. He's in with Benavidez. Maybe he gave him the black eye. Who knows? In that kind of camp, he's learning all the time, and he's been steadily moved up the levels nicely. Caceres last time, a few fights ago, he was knocking out Jack Cullen. Not everybody is going to fall as easily, and he's going to have to face different styles over his career, which is why they brought McCalman in. I think it was nice matchmaking. I thought he was a handy enough winner in the end, taking over down the stretch, but just nice patience for him. He said he'll fight anybody in the top 10. There's no major rush. Some people were talking about him fighting Berlanga because they're under the same promotional outfit, but there's no way Eddie will do that. These two guys going off in different directions. He'll have an eye on the Canelo fight for Berlanga. There's no way you would pick off one of the stars, I wouldn't have thought, unless things go really south for Berlanga and he wants to make a Puerto Rican versus Mexican clash. But
And they can't hold Berlanga off that much longer, Steve. I think
Yeah.
they really need the right opponent to cash him out because he's real close to being found out and finished at this point.
Yeah, well, in that case, a good point. I suppose Pacheco's been a pro for 6 years now. Why not cash him out against one of their own? So that could be a possibility. I don't know, but they seem like they're going in different directions at the moment, and they maybe have bigger fish to fry for Berlanga. But as for Pacheco, I think he's shown himself to be a puncher in the past. I think he showed last night that he's got good boxing skills, which we knew, and he fought against a guy with a difficult style who came to win. So ticking the box for me, speaks well, and I wish him well.
Yeah, he's a decent fighter. And you said he's young. There's plenty of places that he might be able to go from here, and they can hold him up a little and slow down the progress a bit if they want to. Let's see here, what the heck else was? Oh, Sky Nicholson beating Sarah Mahfoud by wide unanimous decision. I don't even know if she lost a round in there. Really a pretty fantastic boxing performance by Sky in that fight, honestly. The best that she's probably looked as a professional up to this point in time. So she's calling for the fight with Serrano. Serrano wants to fight 12-3s. We'll see what the hell happens as far as that goes. But Sky moves onwards and upwards. And Australia cheers, I guess. Apparently they don't give. Apparently they just don't go out to boxing very much down there, Steve. It's a very odd place. I don't know.
Well,
unless it was mundane.
As mundane, more like. As we'll find out later in Belly of the Weeks, we're not sure if Sky is actually Australian anyway, but we'll not play that one just yet.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
She looked okay. She's not a big puncher. I think it's the problem. She knocked out one person. You know,
Yeah.
she's fast. She throws the good shots, but it's hard when you know there's not a knockout coming.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as, let's see here, what else that I saw? Galel Yafai in against Agustin Gauto. And Steve, I thought that this was a pretty damn entertaining fight as far as it went. But there seems to be this running theme here, and it all ends the same way with these Yafai brothers. They just they're fairly static with their upper body movement, and their chins are just out there in the fucking air. And I'll be damned if Gauto didn't test him a few times. Yafai seemed to be hurt a couple of moments, but he managed to see his way through and then just started pouring it on. And the referee stopped in there, got the stoppage. I think Gauto was pretty freaking out of it when it was all said and done there. He didn't seem to complain too much, but I thought that was a thoroughly entertaining fight, Steve. And but I know how this ends for Yafai. I can see it in my head.
Yeah, I think you made good points. The head movement is a problem, isn't it? And he not struggled so much because he's in against a good level of opposition, so you have to expect this. But in his last fight with that Rocco Santamoro, he managed to touch him at times as well in the Glendale fight. And before that, it was Tommy Frank. He knocked him out, no problem. But he's in against tough opposition, so you're expecting him to get touched up a little bit. But Gauto, I think he kind of let Yafai off it a bit by falling off the cliff. It was more to do with his own deficiencies. And as you said, he didn't complain whatsoever. Because at first I thought, oh, here we go. They've sort of let Yafai off with one here. But Gauto, he ran out of steam very quickly and he knew it. And the referee and Yafai were chasing him across the ring. Yafai to punch him and the referee to stop him. And in the end, he fell off the cliff and let Yafai off with one, really. Better opposition with better gas tanks, possibly. Would have been in there right till the end and give him a lot of trouble. He did take a lot of shots, Yafai, but as I reiterate, it's the level of opposition. He's in against decent guys, and that cut was horrific, but it was his own doing. I watched it on the replay. He kind of leant his head right in after throwing a shot, and the heads clashed, and the cut was a real arc over the left eye, I think it was, and it was a real bad one. So he's easy to hit. He's exciting. They'll look to move him quickly for a reason. I think they'll look to get him in with Sonny Edwards at some point and see where he goes from that. But I think he's here for a good time rather than a long time.
Yeah, most likely the case there. Let's see here. Also on that card, Marc Castro picking up a win there. Steve, I caught the last half of the fight. Castro looked good. I don't know what to say about his opponent there. If you caught more of that fight, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I did. I actually a strange complaint from me that it's. I thought it was too fast for my liking. I thought Castro, I've seen him in the past, and he's better when he steps off, throws his shots, looks a bit like Elon Musk. Very good amateur. I think he beat Keyshawn Davis at least once as an amateur. I heard mentioned during the week. Montoya, absolute tough as nails. Never been stopped before. Don't think he's been dropped. Has a win over Luis Alberto Lopez back in the day. He's there to test you, and he tested Castro. But I thought Castro was all buzz. I don't think he won every round. He maybe dropped 1, 2 at the absolute maximum, but he was really going at it very quickly. And I think over the 12 rounds, I'd like to see him just sit down on his punches, pace it out a little bit. It was a bit frenzied at times, a bit frenetic, but Montoya definitely played his part. He looked like he was going to wilt in about round 7 or 8, and he came right back. And Castro, hearing good things about him, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with him next.
Yeah, it's what the heck weight was that at, Steve? I'm trying to think.
It was at Super Feather.
Super Feather. Okay. Yeah, they have a few fighters around there. So, yeah, you never know. We'll see. And he seems like one of those fighters that can probably get into title contention. Just don't know if he'll pick one off. So, let's see here. There was a little bit that went on, and I just realized before this is all said and done, we're going to have to go back to last Sunday too, Steve. Yeah, I know. It's shocking. But let's go over to, I think it was in Houston, Texas, a Red Owl boxing card with Ernesto Tito Mercado taking out Daniel Barrio after Barrio wouldn't come out for the 4th or the 5th round. He didn't seem to offer much. He'd been on the shelf for quite some time there. But like I said, in the preview for this fight, Mercado is staying very, very active, Steve, and it's kind of tough to figure out where he is, how he plays in this division with so few fights. But it's not like he doesn't have a few decent names on the resume already. And he's just one of those guys that's building up, but unfortunately kind of promoting himself. So I don't know where he lands.
Apologies, Matty, after the big build-up. I got the fight, but unfortunately, time slipped away today, and I just about managed to watch Richardson Hitchins at like 5 o'clock this evening. I haven't watched this one yet. I'll try and watch it during the week, but I did get it, but just couldn't get around to it, unfortunately.
No worries. Also on that card was a fairly strange fight between Carlos Jackson and Alexis Bastar, where Jackson dropped Bastar with might have been a low blow, but the ref called it a body shot, issued a count. And then before the round was over, he deducted 2 points from Jackson for different low blows that occurred later on in the round. Then Bastar just didn't come out for a round either. Just kind of a anticlimactic end in what was kind of an entertaining fight at times. Bastar, kind of a sneaky southpaw there, but I guess he just had his nuts punched one too many times, and he just didn't have it in him to continue anymore. So that, if you get a chance, that was on DAZN. Again, a Red Owl boxing show. Tito Mercado, he's worth checking out because I think he's definitely going to be in an interesting fight at 140 pounds. Maybe not before this year is over. It'll be early next year. So I'm trying to think. Let's see here. Before we go into what happened on Sunday, which I think I vaguely remember at this point in time, let's go to Andy for what happened in the bizarre world of boxing in cards from all across the world.
Yeah, cheers for that build up, Matty. There's just like a wee bits of movements and that. There's been some movement in the lower halves, and someone obviously been talking about Diego Pacheco. There maybe a movement in the super middleweight division there again last night as well. And one of the vacant IBF belts got picked up as well. So Kathy Duva's fighter, Bakram Mutazaliev, he finally beat down Jack Kulkai, 11th round stoppage. But again, we bit cooking on the scorecards there. So Mutazaliev's 99-91 on one scorecard, 96-94 on the other, and then the other one's got Kulkai 96-95. So we bit kind of wild there, but it was one of those fights where Mutazaliev he's going to be a hard fight for anybody. He's tall for the weight, he's got long arms, he throws very good hard straight shots, and he was catching Kulkai, but Kulkai was giving him good as what he got. Probably just finishing out this at world level. I think he's like 37-38. Mutazaliev, I don't think his reign will last long, to be fair, but I think it'll be a hard fight for anybody because Kulkai caught him with a few heavy shots and he ate them, and the legs were solid. He came back with even more punches than that. So keep an eye on him. I don't think he'll unify. I think he'll probably try and get somebody will try and pick him off, but he'll certainly be a hard fight for anybody that tries to take him on. Jack Cullen, he was British champion. I think he was Commonwealth champion as well at the start of the year. He got beat off Luka Plantic, which was quite an entertaining fight actually, because both were just lobbing massive hooks at each other. And that Plantic was, I think he's 7-0. He was working the body pretty well with left hooks. I think Cullen got cut either around about the nose or inside of the nose and the right eye, and got beat down. 5th round, stopped, took a knee, and counted it. What else we got? Marshall Braithwaite. Probably the British listeners will probably know him better, actually, all the Scousers and that. I think he's British super flyweight champ. He went to South Africa and tried to challenge for the IBO title. I say tried to. He basically shelled up for the entire 12 rounds, actually. That was a legitimate 12-0 defeat, in my opinion. And possibly for good measure. I think he even possibly got his nose broken, and he got badly marked up around about the face and that as well. So, not a good one. And just one for the kind of lighter weight fans. Eric Rosser for the Dominican Republic, nicknamed the Mini Pac-Man. He's 6-0 now. He picked up some sort of WBA trinket up at light flyweight, so maybe keep a wee eye out for any titleists. Who is it? Ken Shiro, maybe getting him to face him at some point, which will be an interesting fight.
I think Rosa and Coyasso could end up being a good fight in a couple of years.
Yeah, and what was it? There was one fight I was going to mention on that South African card that was just wild. What a minute! I think it was the heavyweight fight. Keaton Gomes against Sean Pottinger, I think his name. I think that's Sean Pottinger's like in his 40s or whatever it was, and this is a rematch, I'm sure. And Gomes had like knocked him out in like the first round of their fight a number of years ago, and it looked like this Pottinger's like absolutely gassed, going into like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th rounds, and he's labouring like fuck, like, and somehow he pulls it out the bag and just absolutely ices Gomes, man. It was a brutal knockout. I don't know if it's kicking around about the kind of socials and that, but it was an interesting one to watch. But yeah, that was Friday night. And there was nothing on Saturday night for us either. So me and Steve and Rob done our punches for the past. Anybody's interested, get signed up for Patreon.
That's where you're wrong, Andy. I don't know what the heck went on the rest of the card, but for the members of the Dave Allen fan club, he picked up a points victory or some dude.
Aye.
Once again, we ask, what's next for Dave Allen?
Oh, that's a question for us, if he would turn up.
I think
need to do a porky, by the way. We need to turn up a wee bit more. Went all over.
I think he was worried about it actually affecting his professional aspirations.
So he should be. I've got no professional aspirations left, so I'm not bothered.
I don't anymore after this show.
Hey, Matty, before I forget, I saw the Bakram Murtazaliev Jack Kulkai fight. I watched it this morning, actually, first thing. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good fight. First couple of rounds, Murtazaliev looked like he was going to run away with it. He dropped Kulkai with a sort of little combination. The referee just picked up his gloves and wiped them. And he sort of looked at the ref and said, what the fuck? Are you not going to call this? Anyway, I thought he was going to run away with it at that point. And Kulkai, to be fair to him, boxed his way really nicely back into the contest. Middle rounds, he was landing the jab. The left hook was landing. Murtazaliev's face was starting to bust up a bit. And I would go out on a limb here, Matty, and say that if it was Kulkai of, say, 5-6 years ago in better physical condition, or the Kulkai that fought Andrade, I think he could have come away with a victory because the tide was really turning in his favour. And Murtazaliev's fitness and strength was what saw him through at the end. And it was a barrage, and Kulkai just dropped like a flannel, man. He was just absolutely bollocks. But I think that his skill set wasn't able to match the fitness. I mean, he's 38, 39 now, which is understandable. But he was really doing decent in the middle rounds there, and he just couldn't quite sustain it. And Murtazaliev's there to be hit. Like I say, his face looked like he'd been hit by a bus at the end.
And that fight was from Germany
From Germany, yeah.
Excellent. All right. Is there anything that we missed before we go backwards to Sunday?
I've completely forgot about Sunday, actually, to be fair.
It happens, Andy. It was a week ago. I know. A lot of things have happened.
I completely forgot.
So, in last Sunday during the podcast, we were all treated to a fantastic heavyweight fight between Fraser Clark and Fabio Wardley in a fight where Clark had a point deducted and he was put on his behind at one point in time, only to rally back and do enough for the judges to find it a draw. But Steve, honestly, this it's a kind of a shame. It's in recent memory now, because this was a truly exceptional heavyweight fight. I'm not going to say it was fought on the highest level, but it was fought on a pretty damn decent level, with both guys given as good as they got at different times. Both guys landing hard right hands. I thought it was just a tremendously enjoyable heavyweight scrap from beginning to end.
Yeah, I thought it was an excellent fight. I haven't gone back and rewatched it, but we were watching it last week on the pod, and two really well matched guys. I picked Wardley before. I thought he had the career momentum. He didn't have the background of Clark, but he had the aggression. He'd been knocking people out. He was on the way up, really. But at times, Clark made him look like I wouldn't say novice, that's too strong, but the kind of unrefined gem that he is, really. And Clark was using the jab lovely. His gas tank just kind of failed him in the end. He hadn't fought against this kind of level before. We wondered going in whether it would work. I know Des was a big fan and thought that he would pull it off, but Clark got dropped. He had a point deducted, and fair play to Wardley. He showed some bollocks. That nose was absolutely terrible. It was split open, pissing blood everywhere. Clark could barely stand. It was you throw, I throw, I'll have a rest, you have a rest. Really good, honest, spirited British title fight for heavyweight title. And it reminded me of the great heavyweight title fights of the past, like Mark Krentz against Scott Gamma, and other fights that people have no doubt forgotten. Mark Potter against Keith Long. But seriously, it was a really good fight. Definitely a rematch. Better condition Clark, you'd have to think, would probably be able to do the job and get the job done. I'm trying to think off the undercard what I saw. I picked Florian Marku to get the job done against Chris Congo, even though Congo was the better boxer. I thought that it showed sort of flaws in the past, and Marco, again, was on an upward trajectory like Wardley. He just wasn't able to get past the jab. Congo got the distance, the range down lovely, smothered him at all the right times and just dampened him and blunted him, really, Marco. And you have to wonder what's going to happen to him now. He is a bit of a banter king. He sells a lot of tickets. He's not a bad fighter, so he can come again. But I thought someone who got dropped by Michael McKinson, which Congo had, would maybe get steamrolled by Marco in the second half of the fight, but it didn't happen. Vidal Riley against Mikel Lawal. Lawal was very passive, snake charmed almost by Riley. Very flat-footed, wasn't able to get his big punches off, only won a round on a couple of the cards. Didn't look like the sort of former or current, I think he was a former British champion, Lawal, he might have been at one point. Riley, it's hard to know with him until he's tested at a better level. Didn't see Callum Simpson. Excuse me, I saw Babic against Robinson. Robinson hung in a lot longer than I thought he would. He's a big stiff idiot. He's tough, but his gas tank isn't the greatest. And Babic just kind of got underneath him and beat him down. And Ben Whittaker against Leon Willington, as I call him, landed a few shots, actually. Whittaker said afterwards he'd let him. Decent, honest scrap. Can Whittaker get rid of people at a higher level? I guess we'll find out in the future. He's got the eyeballs on him, but whether he can deliver those performances remains to be seen. You'll see the showboating and the bullshit antics start to disappear, I think, as his career goes up.
At this point, people just kind of think he's a jerk off.
Yeah, well, I've heard him compared to Nassim Hamed, but the thing was with Hamed, he pissed about, but it was at a higher level, but then he got rid of you. You know, Whittaker, if you're going to piss about and showboat, don't go the 8 rounds, showboat, do whatever you want, do a bit of dancing, and then bang them out, man, knock them the fuck out, you know what I mean, like Wilder. That's what Nassim used to do. He used to doss about, and then he used to knock you out cold, but Whittaker's not been doing that, so there's a slight difference there.
Yeah, he's. I get the comparisons, and he's even trying to play into him himself. Doing this freaking fancy schmancy entrances and shit like that. But part of what made Nassim Hamed so amazing in what he did, I mean, yeah, he was. He was throwing crap from crazy angles and stuff like that. But the way that he was doing it and the movement that he had, just everything about his rhythm and positioning, he found openings that other fighters could not have found. And to fight in the style that Whittaker wants to fight, that's what you're going to have to do. And I don't necessarily think he has that level of talent when it comes to that. And the fucking entrance was pathetic. What a stupid ball of crap that was.
I know it mixes with us as well, but I don't mind the Sunday evening shows. I think they're quite entertaining. It's difficult for us because we're on here talking and you can't really enjoy it. Like the boys in the chat are discussing it now, saying a lot of them are saying Clark, they thought got the win. Talking about Marku and that. I couldn't really sit and watch it, but well-matched guys at any kind of domestic level or whatever are always going to put up a good show. Adam Azim came in afterwards, and they were talking about him fighting Harlem Eubank and everything. So I'm not averse to a Sunday evening show. But as for Whittaker, I think at the moment he's just trying to get eyeballs on him. It has a very early James DeGale feel. I was at DeGale's second or third fight ever when he turned pro. And everyone, he got really badly booed, and then he sort of turned his career around towards the end. Whittaker's trying to be the pantomime villain. But I think the antics, once he gets the eyeballs on him, he'll start to knuckle down when he faces better opposition, and the antics will start to shed themselves, I think.
See, the thing though, see when you mentioned like DeGale, for example, you need to remember how much did DeGale lose in terms of fan base by acting like that? Because if you look at his career after George Groves, okay, there's a bit of rebuild, but he did a lot of that on the road. I think he won his, won his European title on the road.
Yeah.
Obviously, he won his world title on the road, had to go away and defend it on the road and that as well. So
he ended up fighting basically on American undercards for
yeah, and obviously it was with Uncle Al and that as well. But you just wonder that as well. Does Whittaker run that risky? Like, so you're pissing off if you can pay in public here with your nonsense and that. And you're right, Matty, in that as well about about mentioning Hamed. Hamed had that, it had that it factor. Whittaker just got that dance and that kind of amateur style that's just going to score points and that. That's no pro boxing.
Well, and he's calling himself Drunken Master now. Come on, there is only one Drunken Master, and that is Emmanuel Augustus.
He could earn that title as well at the end of the day, but yeah, I think it was you, Steve, that said another one like a wee bit like Josh Kelly with the triple left hooks and that. It'll only be tested when it goes up against like the upper echelons and that. And I don't know how long it will be, but it's not great to watch that. But as I say, I haven't seen the card to be fair. But what I was reading some of the comments saying that was probably one of Sky's better cards of the year and that.
Yeah, it was decent.
So considering the kind of week that Ben Shalom's had and that, with Eddie throwing grenades in there as well for good measure, I think he needed a wee victory there actually. So fair play to Ben Shalom, a good guy at the end of the day.
Well, absolutely. Matty as well. You mentioned there before, forget Emmanuel Augustus, Emmanuel Burton, the Drunken Master. I was in Belfast a couple of weeks ago, and was it last week? I can't remember. For the Kurt Walker Jimmy Beach fight, and I forgot to mention there was a guy on the undercard called Edgar Kemsky. I know I mentioned him in the Nuthouse chat and all, but he's based in Belfast, but from Slovakia originally. I tell you what, I've never seen anybody like this guy. I honestly thought, is he on drugs? Is he mentally ill? Is he enjoying himself? Has he got some kind of neurodiverse disorder? I've never seen
it could be all four, Steve.
Quite possibly, man. I have never seen a performance like it. This guy, he was doing it at the weigh-in the day before, you see, so that kind of tipped me off about him. A few of the guys in the chat seem to have seen him before, and this is the way he behaves, but absolute nutcase. He was landing uppercuts on Owen O'Neill in the 4-rounder. But he just was doing these bizarre. He was like getting on his knees, hugging the referee, kissing his opponent, throwing his hands in the air, letting him hit him, throwing the head in. He went from the dangerous to the bizarre all in one move. Edgar Kemsky, if you ever get to see this guy fight, I thought he was going to have an Oliver McCall moment at one point. I thought he was going to start crying in the corner. Absolute lunatic, man, I tell you what. There's MB. Kemsky is a pain in the arse. He doesn't box, just fucks about. There you go. He's obviously seen him fight before as well.
Andy, do you want to say anything else about that card before we move on with this question from the very generous
move
Dr.
on, mate.
FMG?
Move
All
on,
right.
mate.
Yeah, Rob stopped in and then he left. Dr. FMG throwing us $14.99 in Australian dollars. Says Whittaker versus Joe Ward. What do you reckon, lads? I haven't seen enough of Joe Ward to really make my thoughts known on that. But I do know he's just quietly been rebuilding himself after that freak injury in his first fight. It was like a leg injury and just one of those crazy things. But I tell you, Steve, what I do know of Joe Ward is that he's, more traditionally sound as a boxer. And I think for guys like a Ben Whittaker, sometimes the toughest thing for them to deal with are guys that are just technically sound.
Yeah. I would love to see this fight. I think it'd be a fantastic step up. Whether they would make it or not, I don't know. Not because I'm saying Joe Ward's any kind of killer, but I'm looking at his box rec here. Can't believe he's 30 years of age. Again, time just flies. I remember being there at the Irish Seniors. I've said it before, when he was 17. Came from nowhere, upset Kenneth Egan. Then the following year, was back again, beat Egan again. Egan had won like 11 or 12 senior championships in a row, was a silver medalist at the Olympics, and Ward just looks absolutely brilliant. Picked his shots lovely. Thought he was going to be a world beater. Didn't quite work out for him, and then couldn't got off to any worse start as a pro, as you mentioned, Matty, with that sort of knee injury. It looked like it wasn't going to happen for him, but he's built himself back up. He's 11-1 now. He's out in America with Lou DiBella. He's had a few fights here and there. Came back to Letterkenny late last year, and his most recent victory, second round knockout win over Derek Webster, been moving up lovely. I think there'd be a fantastic test for Whittaker. I'd say they maybe look at it 2 or 3 fights down the road, but if he still retains that skill set and the timing he had of old, then Joe Ward's going to be a handful for anybody. He's going to have to step up at some point. Another fantastic Irish amateur, Ray Moylett. Thought he was nailed on for a pro with his style to be an excellent pro. Just didn't work out for him, unfortunately, which happens sometimes to guys.
Didn't he just retire?
Yep, he did. See, he's had enough now.
No, yeah. I could never understand how somebody could ever get tired of the sport of boxing, with such fair and just judging and, clean promotional standards. I just never could understand why somebody would want to leave this sport. Crazy. Absolute crazy talk. So, anyways, I think we might have covered that all. Andy, do you have anything on your thoughts on the Dr. FMG's question there? I actually wish Rob was in here, but
yeah, I mean, I like to see it. I like to see it soon. I mean, as Steve mentioned, Ward's not getting any younger. Whittaker's he's a fair age, but he's like late 20s, is not as well, is he not?
I think he's about 20. Is he 28?
Yeah, so there's and of course there's nothing really. There you go. So the thing is, Ward had obviously, as an amateur, he had fought the absolute best that there was available in that. Apart from obviously, he just couldn't beat La Cruz for Cuba, but beat the rest of them. So he was highly touted coming out. Freak injury, as everybody knows. I haven't really seen him since, to be fair. So again, I don't know if he's fully recovered, if he's on the slide or whatever it was. But I would probably go with. And I didn't say it with any great confidence, but I would probably go with Whittaker on points. But again, I'm assuming we're talking 12 rounds here and that as well, which we don't know what Whittaker's going to be like over 12. I'm not sure. Has Joe Ward fought 12 rounds yet as a pro? I'm assuming he has.
Don't think so. He's never gone above 8, so
there
say
you go.
10.
So say a 10-rounder and that. So if you're going to make it next year, it'll be a 10-rounder. But again, you're thinking with those guys' pedigrees and that coming up into the pros, you'd be expecting those guys with their mentality, be expecting that fight to be meaning something more than just a normal box standard fight and a payday. They'd be wanting titles on the line for that type of fight, I would imagine.
Matty, just quickly in case I forget, on the super chat theme, I neglected to mention our super chatters last week. Ryan Deal threw in 3 super chats. Sam O'Hara Childs, he's got 2 names, not just one. He threw in a super chat as well, and Declan Graffin threw one in right at the death that I wasn't able to mention, so I thanked him in WhatsApp, and I'm thanking him now as well. And also, Andrew Thickett just quickly says, any updates on Peter McGrail? Seems to have withdrawn from his scheduled upcoming rematch with O'Quinn. I was under the impression that it was O'Quinn that had withdrawn due to family issues, and Mark Leach had replaced him. Unless McGrail has now also withdrawn, I thought it was O'Quinn that had withdrawn, but I could be incorrect there.
Well, that sucks. That was an interesting rematch. I mean, for guys with not many pro fights under their belt, that was thoroughly interesting.
I thought so.
Well, boxing giveth and boxing taketh away. Mostly taketh away. So, let's see here. Do we have any questions in?
Yes, from the esteemed Joseph Kennedy, head of the Prediction League.
Yes, and And congratulations to Dave Wilson on winning the last season of the Prediction League. New one has already started. So for those that are in, best of luck to you. I forgot to get my picks in, and I'm like, well, that's as good of an excuse to any as not play this session. So I'm going to take a break from the ass kickings, I think, at this point in time. These random British fights. I don't even know who the fuck this guy is. Why are you asking me? So anyways, but yeah. So anyway, let's see here. Where's this? Mr. Kennedy says, who would you like to see in Tim Zoo's corner in an ideal world? Would wonder if a move to Ryan Dill's favorite gym in Montreal would suit his come forward pressure style. That is a good question, Joe. I don't know. What are you thinking, Steve?
I'm not really sure, to be honest, but this has come off the back of, I was writing the Substack article, and it's not an original thought by any stretch, but sort of questioning Tim Zoo's team's corner work, and that it was mentioned in the aftermath whether they actually had the proper stuff, why there wasn't a cutsman like Mike Bazile or somebody like that in the corner. to get that cut under control. I think it would have been a difficult job for anybody, is my 2 pence worth. But that has been questioned. Also, the fact that the corner didn't turn around and say, let's try and get a no contest, or I think maybe after 5 or 6 rounds, they could have at least tried to get it to
he was probably
cards.
up after 4 or 5.
Yeah, and try their luck on the cards. Now, you have to caveat that by saying, we know the kind of character Zoo is. He showed that when Thurman pulled out and he took Fundora. He would have said, no chance. Are you pulling me out of this fight? I'm going to fight till the end, I believe. And it would have been a row. I didn't realise it was his uncle who was training him. Who knows who he could get, but he needs to have a look at his training team and possibly his management team as well. I know Samson Lukovic, aka Levkovic, was talking in the press conference about the possible rematch, and they were asking him whether there had been a rematch clause agreed for which you would imagine at such short notice, with Thurman disappearing. Right, we're going to get this on paper. If anything happens, anything goes down, we're going to get the rematch. And Lukovic said, oh, it's only verbal agreement. So that leads me to think, well, Sue's team again, why did they not get that down contractually on paper? We're changing opponents at short notice. Let's get that sorted in case, the point being, whoever's in the corner, whoever's behind the scenes, maybe needs to sharpen up a bit. And I know Ryan Deal talks about Beterbiev and that, and with the come forward style, maybe a move to Mark Ramsey, but I'd say probably stateside. He doesn't want to stay Australian-based. Sue wants to come to America, so I'm not really sure where he should go, to be honest. But yeah, he needs to maybe look at alternative. But he's quite a stubborn, headstrong guy, regardless.
Yep, I tell you, Andy, I think my vote is going to be going to Robert Garcia, honestly, for a new trainer for Zoo.
I was listening to Steve. I probably would agree with everything he said there, actually, because I was actually reading some comments here about Lemos again there last night as well, and some people were saying the same, but Steve just said about Zoo, that he should have moved to America at least, not because he's got the better gyms and that, he's going to get better quality sparring, better options that he would have in Argentina. Same would be for Zoo in Australia. I think we all said that a couple of fights back of his and that he looked, there was nothing really much else to prove for him out there anymore. It's time to move. I think we said it before he even took the fight against Fundora, or before the fight against Thurman was even planned. They were saying, look, listen, that's the move to make. In terms of trainers, I don't really know. I mean, there's Derek James now being dropped by Spence. Seems to have kind of run his course a little bit. I forget who else was he training just now. He's not training Ryan Garcia.
Yep,
Anthony
Joshua
with
was
AJ,
Anthony
Joshua, that's the other one. Didn't see much of Virgil Hunter these days.
Not the right trainer.
Yeah,
I really think a Mexican trainer is the right one, but he needs someone that speaks English. The language barrier is a bitch. That's why I say Robert Garcia.
I'm just trying to think about other fighters. Well, obviously, Steve mentioned Matt Ramsey, who's highly thought of Canadian trainer. Just trying to think East Coast, but nothing really springs out to me, mate, to be fair. And Steve also mentioned that Zeus, he seems to be his own man. He'll probably stick with his own team and that, people that he knows best. But if that's the case, he's going to stay with that team, then at least relocate to America and work with gyms with a better sparring, possibly. I think that would probably be a wee bit more beneficial. But I also think, I don't know if Steve mentioned it, part of his article, because I just popped to me briefly there. I think also part of the reason why I lost that fight, okay, he gave up the physical advantages and he was cut and that type of stuff. It was all, and also the corner work wasn't all that great, but also a bit of arrogance cropped in there. He felt that he could take that fight on regardless, and he's paid the price for it. And sometimes, you get a bit arrogant, and that's what happens. You payeth the price.
That you absolutely do. That was a good question, though, Joe. I like that question a great deal. Let's see here. Trying to think anything else that we might have missed this week in the wonderful world of boxing.
Don't think so, no. Nothing else that I saw that I can remember anyway.
No batshit insane news, anything of that nature?
I'm sure there must have been, but my head's like a sieve.
Well, let's take a look here and see what's going to be going on this Pro Box card on Wednesday night. All right. So it's going to be headlined by Angelo Leo against Eduardo Baez. That's a good fight. Let's see here. We got undefeated Jacob Bradley. God damn it, stupid phone. Bear with me, of course. Phone screws up.
Jacob Bradley
Jacob
Gomez
Zayas, many names against the once defeated Jose Arellano.
Your phone couldn't handle all those names.
I'm telling you. Dominic Valle going in against Angel Vázquez Luperceo. I might have been saying that wrong. Valle still undefeated. Luperceo also once defeated. There's a fight for you. Famous Wilson against Nissan Anderson. What the fuck? Who are these people's parents? So yeah, we got that one going for us. So, but that Leo fight, I think is going to be a good one. And some of those other ones, these once defeated guys, you never know how they lost if you didn't see the fight. If it was a legitimate defeat by any stretch of the imagination, because as we learned this weekend, there's a whole lot of terrible decisions to be found in the sport of boxing. Steve, are you looking forward to this particular Pro Box card as I scroll through and find the next fights?
Yes, I am looking forward to it. I'm not sure about the undercard and the co-feature. I haven't heard of any of them. Usually one of the names sticks out, but if I have seen them, then it has definitely slipped my mind. As for the main event, Angelo Leo, good fighter Leo, only lost to Stephen Fulton, which is no shame whatsoever. He also has a win over Aaron Alameda, who pushed Luis Neri quite close a few years ago. Very good southpaw. So Leo is definitely an improving fighter. I've said before, I like the way Pro Box kind of take these fringe guys, undefeated guys who've had a shot at the world title, people who've still got something to offer, and put them together. And it's good matchmaking, and that's what's happened here. Leo knocked out Mike Planier in his last fight, also on Pro Box, which was only a few weeks ago, I think, with a cracking body shot. Baez, he doesn't usually get beaten easily. He's only stopped once by Emmanuel Navarrete, which is no shame whatsoever. Good fight with Rai Salim, pushed him very close. I seem to remember him fighting Arnold Kagai on some kind of Don King promotion or Triller or something a few years ago. And he's on a 2-fight winning streak as well. So he might not be the most offensively minded, but he will give it a good go. And it's a good quality main event from Pro Box, really.
Yeah, we'll see where the scorecards end up. There have been a few dicey ones lately on Pro Box. Steve worries me about all the wonderful things.
Well, it is in the drug rehabilitation center, so I wonder whether some of the inmates are doing the scoring or something.
I mean, if you want to make money, if you're a judge, you sell drugs to the inmates. You know, take
Tim
a bribe
Cheatham
for a
might
fight.
as well be on crack. What's his excuse?
I don't know, man. That was an awful scorecard. Tim Cheatham, motherfucker. Anyways, so let's see here. On Friday, Steve, from your call, let's see here. We got a Channel 5 card. Going to have Charlie Edwards against George Ori, Lerone Richards against Steve Woodall, Kingsley Egbunike against Jordan Dijon, and any other number of fighters on here. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
What do you think? You think that's a decent card there by any stretch? Is it worth tuning into on a Friday afternoon?
That's a Wasserman card. So
yeah,
not hard a miss.
not really. But I will tune in anyway because we are degenerates. But yeah, Wasserman, Sauerland don't deliver the best quality of cards. Charlie Edwards returning. I'm trying to think the last time I saw him actually. Fought against Barreto, Darwin, Martinez. Yeah, he's one of Eddie's staples. He's returning now under the Wasserman banner, fighting against George Ori. Never heard of him. Looking down his record quickly, don't recognise any opponents there. Lerone Richards, another one who disappeared. Quite a negative kind of style on the cusp of world level. And now he's back on Sauerland as well. 10 rounds against Steed Woodall. Decent enough fighter. Saw him fight Podrick McCrory at the Failer last summer, I think it was. He gave him a right good go before McCrory went out to fight Balanga. So he should be, if he can get in range against Richards, he should give him a good run for his money. But Richards is very defensively astute. After he beat that, I think it was Gongora he beat. I thought he was going to do things, but he's just completely fallen off the record. I'm seeing now he's fought a couple of journeymen, so Eddie must have let him go. That was 3 years ago he beat Gongora. His career's really fallen off a cliff. Kingsley Egbunike, I saw him fight on a Belarus card, believe it or not, a few years ago. Ended up with a draw. That was one of the Al Siesta cards, and whatever happened to Al Siesta, but there you go. He's fighting against Jordan Dijon. Oliver Zaren, he's one of the Sauerland prospects. He's from Denmark, the Great Dane. He's going in against John Harding Jr., who I think off the top of my head was managed by Dillian White at one point. I'm not sure if he still is. And there's a name on the undercard for you. Robert Lloyd Taylor Jr. I remember Robert Lloyd Taylor Sr. He used to be at the fight at the David Hay camp. He won the prize fighter.
One prize fighter, didn't he? Yeah.
As a substitute
Brilliant that night
one
he
year.
was.
Yep,
Yeah,
he
brilliant
was.
that night.
He was indeed. Well, his
All
son.
of that guy's names are first names. That's fucked up.
Exactly. Robert. His
Taylor's
middle
only a
name's
first name in
James.
America, you fucking idiot.
Robert James Lloyd Taylor. Anyway, 6-0, 1 knockout. He's there. Yeah, his dad won the prize fighter, as Rob rightly says, back in the day. And now his son's boxing age 21. More evidence that we're all getting on a bit, Matty.
We are a bunch of old bastards, and the oldest one in the group has arrived. Welcome, Rob Kelly. How are you today?
The oldest dirty bastard as well, by the way. Didn't fucking give me my full moniker.
I'm going to pull up to the welfare office in the limo, too.
I think the only time I was ever in limo was in Cancun in Mexico, and it's probably best not spoke about on the pod. Let's fucking move on. Any crack anyway?
Do you want to, before we move on, that was just the first card or the second card we're previewing this week. Do you want to touch on what you saw over the weekend before we move on?
I suppose there's only really the big like I didn't watch the Jack Cullen fight that we were doing punches for the pass and they had just wrapped up, so I went out for a smoke and I came back and the fucking thing was over, so I didn't really see that one, so I rewatched the highlights of the US card. Richardson, Hitchins, I think he got a lucky escape. It's what you like, isn't it? Whether you like fellas defensively or you like fellas on the front foot. But I just thought Lemos forced the action all the way. And I actually had it 115, 113 to Lemos. Having said that, Hitchins can be proud of himself in that he showed something. But I think it was just kind of a routine Hitchins fight and the same kind of flaws that we talked about that are going to prevent him going all the way were exposed last night. Like, he doesn't punch that hard. I think Lemos rocked him in the first 2 rounds, kind of came out quicker than he expected. He didn't respect Lemos. He was saying that in the build-up, and maybe he just thought he was going to box circles around him. Didn't prove to be the case. He had to dig deep a little bit and have a bit of a firefight with him. They had a shootout for the last 3 rounds. But I just thought Lemos had the edge in terms of cutting off the ring, landing cleaner, harder shots earlier, buzzing him, and just kept going. But yeah, I thought what was one card was 117, 111 or something, was it?
Yeah, it is
crazy.
Insane.
Crazy. I don't mind it. I don't mind it having 115, 113 the other way to Hitchins either. But I think again his vulnerabilities are that he can't, like, he's very technically sound, but he can't really punch that much. And I think out of the kind of 4 or 5 fellas that are leading the charge at 140 now, he's a good bit off it. So I don't know where he goes. He's with Eddie. Eddie will be looking to put him in with somebody and I guess cash him out or get him into a bigger cross promotional fight.
That was the mandatory for the winner of Matias versus Pero. So we might see him get his ass kicked by Matias.
I just couldn't. I think Matias would just kill him because, and I don't even like saying that when it comes to Matias.
Terrible verbiage in this situation.
Yeah, horrible choice of words or whatever. But I think he's up against it. I saw Matias. I like Matias actually. He was good. He did an Instagram video the other day where he was talking in broken English, calling Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia and Pitbull Cruz all pussies and everything. I thought that was good. But I just think he'd fucking destroy Hitchins. Hitchins would have nothing to keep him off. Like, it'd be a very fucking long night. Like. But we have to see if Matthias comes through this one first. But yeah, I wouldn't have high hopes for Hitchins really doing anything at 140. Routine enough wins for Pacheco, the knockout, and Sky Nicholson gets a world title, doesn't she? Is she world champion now? I don't know. She won a decision.
That made her full champion at 126.
Yeah, so she's a 126. So mission accomplished for her anyway. She's won a world title. Good for her. Yeah, but an underwhelming enough weekend in terms of action.
Ain't that the truth? And Steve, I made the mistake. Oh, let's see here. Josh Ford here said John Harding Jr. is managed by White. I lecture him at university, strangely. Interesting. Small world, eh?
Hopefully he's been lecturing him in the noble art ahead of this Friday night.
There you go. We touched on that Friday night card, Friday afternoon stateside. That'll be Channel 5. But I did accidentally skip over Thursday, Steve. How could I forget our Canadian cards on ESPN Plus? It's great times. And we'll see if this card is subject to change, and we'll touch on that in a moment. As of right now, it's Moreno Fendero against Nicolas Luque Palacios, Thomas Chavot against Alfredo Jimenez Espino, Steve Claggett against Mike Ohan Jr., and we don't know that one will go on. And then Eric Bazinian against Shaquille Finn. The interesting thing about Shaquille Finn, Steve, is other than the first defeat in his career, which was very, very early, all the knocks on his ledger that you see, be it the draw or the 2 other losses, are against undefeated opponents at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
if he might stack up a little bit better against Bazinian than we're thinking off of the get-go here. But I think the more interesting thing off this card is something that's not even happening on the card, and that is that Steve Claggett is supposed to have gotten the call to face Teofimo Lopez. So you wonder if this is even going forward, Steve, based on the idea he's got that payday waiting for him. I think it's a perfect style matchup for Lopez, unfortunately. But it will be a fun fight. Glad to see Steve get the chance. I would hate for them to somehow screw it up with this.
Yeah, I completely agree. I cannot see for the life of me, as brave and as tough as Claggett is, and he will come to fight against Lopez. I can't see them putting him in against Ohan. I imagine it's just a case of them not moving it off BoxRec yet. If he's fighting Lopez on June the 29th, I don't think he needs a tune-up against Ohan. They'll be having him in the gym and removing him off this card, I would imagine. As for Shaquille Finn, I don't know much about him, although what you're saying is very interesting. A very narrow defeats, really, in Poland, and then another one against an undefeated guy, as you said, in Montreal as well. Last time when they were, I think it was Christian and Billy, or it might have been somebody else. It might have been Claggett, actually, in his last fight. They were talking this one up, saying, keep a lookout for Bazinian's next fight. The opportunity knocks, the opportunity of a lifetime out the blue for Shaquille Finn. So I got the impression like he'd sort of been drafted in. They're trying to keep Bazinian busy. I think they expect Finn, the Jamaican juggernaut, to get knocked out probably. He's 33. He's had a few losses, as you mentioned. I think he's being brought in here for a chance of a lifetime, but he'll probably end up getting drilled. That was the impression I got from the telecast anyway, whenever they were talking about this fight. Also, in his last fight, Shaquille Finn knocked out Rafael Sosa Pintos in 1 round. He's from Uruguay, and I saw him fight Matthew Macklin in the National Stadium in Dublin back in 2009 on RTE. Good times. So he's 43 now anyway. He's the Uruguayan juggernaut. So,
Gonna happen for many days now, I think. He's been biding his time.
He went the 10 rounds that day, but he's getting knocked out big time now. He's had about 20 losses. As for the other guys on the card, John Arobio, Colombian, based himself in Canada. He's a big puncher, looks exciting. Fendero, I'm sure I've seen him fight. I think, he's a French guy. He's one of Billy's mates, I think, Fendero. He's meant to be decent. Thomas Chabot, he is, I think he got a close victory on one of the recent cards, and he came on the mic afterwards and didn't think that he should have got the win, or he's surprised. He was refreshingly honest. I think it was Chabot. Could have been one of the other boys. They all mix into one.
Mark anyway, Mendy managing him.
Exactly. Yeah, it should be a good one. We like an Eye of the Tiger, don't we, Matty, on a Thursday night?
Absolutely, and that card does sound fun. And I'll ask you, Rob, would you rather watch that card that Steve and I just discussed, or the zone card from Manchester, which has we'll go with these 4 fights, working bottom to top, which has Michael Gomez Jr. against Kane Baker, Rhiannon Dixon against Karen Elizabeth Carvajal, Ali Scottney against Seoline Lafeve, and Jordan Gill against Zalfa Barrett. Gun to your head, which card are you watching, Rob?
I think I probably watched the Manchester one, to be honest with you.
You're going to take the gun, aren't you, Rob?
I think just off the fact that I was fans of fucking Pat Barrett and fucking Michael Gomez Sr., I'll give that one. I'd rather have that one to watch than the other one. I'm not fucking watching the other one. I think we all know that. I actually gave my predictions for that. That'll show you my commitment to the Boxing News Prediction League app. I completely forgot it this weekend and didn't put my predictions in, so I just did my predictions today for that card that you're talking about, actually. But yeah, it's not exactly fucking whetting the appetite for next week.
No, your appetite is not wet.
Your appetite for destruction, Matty.
Yeah, your thirst for violence still needs to be quenched, sadly.
This is it.
Steve, what are your thoughts on this card?
Yeah, pretty much the same as Rob, to be honest. It's not getting me that interested. I was trying to think of the last time I saw Zalfa Barrett fighting. I saw him on the Dublin undercard. I wasn't there, but it was on the telly. Rakimov really came out, give Rakimov a bit of a decent go. I think, didn't he come in at short notice, possibly for Joe Cordina, or that was out in Abu Dhabi? Yeah, he's decent, Barrett. He's had a good career, but he's been a bit up and down. Jordan Gill, I was at that one when he shocked Michael Conlan in December, beginning of December, knocked him out. Nice guy, Gill. Had got beaten by Kiko Martinez beforehand, but shoving these together does feel a bit like we don't really know what else to do with them. A couple of women's fights, Rhiannon Dixon seen her before. Carbiel, I remember her actually. I've seen her. Ellie Scottney, Michael Gomez Jr. Like Rob, I remember senior. Who's he lost to? Let's have a look. One loss. Henry James, 2019. Yeah, it's pretty slim pickings, to be honest, Matty. I can't really drag too much out. So this William Crawler's on the undercard as well.
Andy,
get some real answers.
Andy, are you just as disappointed as these other two guys?
Absolutely, mate. Listen, if you said to me about this card yesterday, mate, I would have said to you, I don't care about it today. I don't give a shit about it tomorrow, and I absolutely positively won't give a fuck about it next week either. So let's just move on.
And that's a shame. So there's going to be one more card to cover that I found, unless you guys think of something. But I wanted to ask you guys this. It's something I've been exploring in my head, just a creative project, and I was thinking. I was thinking about writing. I was thinking about writing a sitcom about a Korean single father who is also suffering from a neurological disorder, and I want to title the show Park and Sons.
That's shocking, mate.
I can tell I have high hopes for it after the way it was received there. I can see it going places.
Fuck off! I think that's a great. Anyhow.
Matty, I prefer this.
Anyway.
I prefer this quip from you, Matty.
I just don't know if I want to buy this or not. Garcia says he was raped when he was 2. Oh, fuck. Well, I'm in. That works, Steve.
Take my money.
Oh, anyway. So we do have one more card, Steve. How this one managed to get by you, I will never know. We're going to Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yep, I know.
We'll work up kind of from the bottom up. I'm gonna have Hobson Conceição coming back against Jose Ivan Guardado Ortiz, another one of those people with 4 names. Fuck them. Jalen Walker against Alejandro Guerrero. Walker undefeated. Abdullah Mason coming back against Ronald Ron, who has shown himself to be a pretty sturdy operator. Charlie Suarez against Luis Correa. F.A. Ajagba against Guido Villanillo. Isn't that the heavyweight scrap for the ages? Then Jared High-Speed Chase Anderson taking on Rayad Murray. And then you're going to have the card topped with, I don't know, maybe this could be a good fight. Ruben Villa taking on Christian Cruz Chacon. Looks like Chacon has 1 draw and 5 wins in his last 6. What the hell else has he done? He has never been knocked out, Steve. He has never been knocked out. Let's see here. He lost to Jose Olmedo Robles by decision. A close decision. 1 point on 2 cards. Split decision lost to Enrique Vivas when he was in like his 7th fight.
Yeah, he's not too bad.
He lost to Ryan Garcia. I don't know which Ryan Garcia. Let's see if that is the Ryan Garcia. Yep, that is the Ryan Garcia. There's a smug face looking at me. Yeah, interesting guy. So you talk about how records are deceptive. So Mr. Chacon debuted against a 6-1 fighter. He lost. His 3rd fight, an 8-2 fighter, lost. 4th, 5-0 fighter, lost. Ryan Garcia, lost. Beat a 6-0 fighter, then lost to the undefeated at the time, Enrique Vivas. And then he rattled off a bunch of wins over lesser competition before kind of finding his footing in there. And I don't know. He might be he might surprise. I think at the very least, this shows a guy who has got some cojones, who gets knocked down and gets back up again. This could be a decent main event, Steve. What the hell?
Yeah, I think so. He was 2-5, as you said, after his first 7 fights. So he's definitely got a bit about him. He's come back. And Villa's not the biggest puncher in the world. I actually like Ruben Villa. I think he's a really good fighter. As I mentioned earlier in the show, he has a win over Luis Alberto Lopez. He was a good amateur, got some good scalps as an amateur as well. Beat Alexia Costa, who was once based in Cuba with Mike Perez and Luis Garcia. And his fight against Navarrete, very much similar to Navarrete's fight with Conceição, I thought. The power was the difference. Villa lost by 114, 112 on 2 of the cards. And if he hadn't got knocked down in rounds 1 and 4, it would have been a majority draw, which wouldn't have got him the title, granted. But I think when he wasn't getting knocked down against Navarrete, he was boxing his ears off. Very skilled southpaw. Top Rank obviously saw this, took a gamble on him, signed him up, and here he is in the main event. I didn't realise it's the main event. I thought Jared Anderson, but Anderson's on the card as well. But yeah, Chacon looks like he could be
Anderson could be the main event. Sometimes they don't stack these things.
Yeah,
correctly.
you just don't. They're doing a lot of co-main event chatter these days, aren't they? I noticed the other week when Lopez fought Abe, that was supposed to be the nominal main event, and then they switched it around and put Ford against Kolmatov on after that. But you went through the undercard. I haven't seen Ron before fight. A big Ron Atkinson there, but he's going in against Abdullah Mason, so he could give him a decent go. Mason's knocking everybody out for fun, so if you can go the distance, that'd be good for him. And Ajagba sticks out to me as well, Matty, against Vianello. Vianello's never really lived up to his amateur billing as a professional. I think he lost to Kingsley eBay at one point, and this is his last fight, I think, of the Top Rank deal. So obviously saying, thanks very much, Ajagba can take your scalp, and off you go, I imagine. So expect Ajagba to get the win by hook or by crook in that one. I think the Top Rank have had enough of Vianello.
I just think, Andy, that the funniest outcome after everything that's happened in this kind of Top Rank heavyweight shit show that we've seen of, some fighters just not being what we thought they were, some fighters upsetting the apple cart, etc., etc. Wouldn't it be hilarious if Guido Vianello knocked out F.A. Ajagba?
Yeah, it would be, mate. It probably would be. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there as well about the kind of shit show, the heavyweights and that. I wouldn't even say that they know what we expect them to be, because we don't even know what they are at this point, because they're not fighting anybody worth a shit to even see if they are what we expect them to be, or maybe what they're not meant to be. You mentioned that he's got Torres. We mentioned him, that he's still fighting shit. Gerard Anderson, man. I mean, this opponent that he's facing, right? Okay, he beat Tony Yoka. Clearly, it was not a split decision. Shouldn't have been a split decision victory. He clearly beat Tony Yoka, but this is a career cruiserweight that Gerard Anderson's fighting here. So there's still the same shit's getting levelled at him. His opposition level is trash at this point as well. So, and then you've mentioned Jagba and that as well. So it's no good. It's no good. And Steve mentioned about Vianello. I'll not mention any more about him. Robinson Conceição is getting punted down undercards these days and that as well. Clearly maybe just seeing out time with his contract possibly.
Or just getting his feet wet again after that recent
defeat. I suppose. You got Abdullah Mason, that John Rincon, or however he pronounce his first name in that neck of the woods. But these are still prospects at this point. So again, it's, for me anyway, in my opinion, that's another poor offering by Top Rank. And again, they're all 10 rounder. Well, your top fights of the card are 10 rounders. As I say, you're pitting Gerard Anderson with a guy who is basically, in terms of heavyweight landscape, probably second tier European heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? So, Gerard Anderson, what is he? Where's he ranked these days in terms of heavyweight? So I'm just going to pull this up here. Give me a second. Top 5 with IBF, WBC. Top 4 with WBO, so he's getting up there. So no type of opponent you're kind of be looking for to kind of challenge his likes a Joshua or maybe even a Mark McCauley, for example, because you probably need to fight one of these guys to get an eliminator or some sort of final eliminator for a title fight.
Yeah, he can't seem to keep his ass out of trouble long enough.
There's that as well. Aye.
He's going to do fuck all, Jared Anderson. I'll tell you right now, that's going the same way as Seth Mitchell, as Jonathan Banks, as whatever the fuck ever fringe heavyweight. The only one that made a dent. The only one that made a dent was Wilder, and that was because he was fucking gifted with that punch. The rest of them were a bunch of bums, and Jared Anderson's no different. He'll do fuck all. If he wins a world title, I forget about it. Absolutely no chance. No chance.
Yep, I think, and there might have been something there if he could have kept his nose clean and kind of focused on the sport.
You see him crying and all in that fucking clip with Roy Jones. I know I've spoken about it before, but he's mentally fragile, isn't he? If he needs to be fucking talked into the ring when he's 0-7 or 7-0 or something, he's worried about these opponents and he's breaking down crying. It's fucking forget about it. Fucking forget about it. It's an unforgiving sport. He's not He hasn't got it. He might have some attributes that made it, if he had a good drive and a good mental stability, he might have been able to make a dent. But I still, even from what you see with him off the eye test, you can't see him giving any of the fucking top guys like Andy's mentioned Martin McCauley. I'd probably make Martin McCauley favourite to beat him, I'd say.
Oh,
I wouldn't see why
absolutely.
not. I wouldn't see why you wouldn't at this point in time, other than the fact that McCauley is just horribly inactive. It's kind of ridiculous at this point in time.
Yeah, you could see Bacoli picking him off the back foot, couldn't you?
Yeah, he's not very good, is what we're saying. Jared Anderson. He's a big baby.
Yeah, I mean, I could even see Bacoli just beating him down. I mean, Bacoli's
big baby Miller versus big baby Anderson. That's what they need to mean. The battle of the big babies. That's what they need. Like, they need to fucking get something. Like, Miller would be a suitable punch bag for him to look good, get a bit of public attention. He'll talk in the press conference. It'd be a better matched opponent than this shit. Like,
winner gets a new truck.
Well, the ESPN boxing reporter these days is called Ben Baby, so he could report from ringside.
The baby trifecta.
David Dunphy on commentary, baby.
It's the baby trifecta. I'm sure Ryan Garcia thinks that's some sort of a satanic ritual, but no, it's just a coincidence, Ryan.
Pizzas all around.
There is no coincidences, Matty. What's the numerology like on that one? 33 rounds. Is that what you're saying?
I don't even know where to go from here. So I think I'm gonna go. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna thank all the people in the chat, and then I'm gonna send
Johnny
for the value.
Johnny Nelson says Bacoli loves a big baby.
Oh my God.
Thanks for Johnny being in here. Andrew Thicket, the Dr. FMG, who also threw us a super chat. MB, Michael Thompson. Let's see here. AP. All sorts of acronyms going on here. Yimmy Yappy in there as well. Our good friend. Chris Butler. Josh Ford. Let's see here. Might just be them. Harvey Price Boxing returns. And I'm sure we can find one more.
All the losers.
Beat Bop Boop. Beat Bob Boop, our good friend in there as well. Thanks for everybody who has hopped in there today. I see a lot of those names as part of the Boxing Nutters Messenger group. And if you would like to be part of that and get access to all of the other great membership benefits, you need to hop aboard and join the Patreon. And then Steve will set all that up for you because he's a fantastic guy like that. Man, Steve, I think we're running short today. That's about all I think we have. So onwards and upwards with the value of the week, sir.
Love it. A nice early evening for all of us. Episode 5, 6, 7. Rob's here, Matty's here, Andy's here, and me, Steve. Let's get on to the value of the week. I mentioned this one earlier. Actually, let's see what else we've got to play us in. We'll go a bit longer, shall we? Seeing if we have an extra minute or two. Don't really want to go back to Bunce. He's regular. Let's see. We'll go for Tony.
Is this a new career for you after you finish boxing to maybe be a pundit?
I believe to be a pundit you have to have really achieved and done something in your career. So for me, at the moment, am I a viable pundit? Maybe not. But do I know about boxing? Yes, I do.
How good is David Price?
The heir to the Klitschko throne. People think I'm crazy when I said it. I said it a long time ago. But it is what it is, mate. He is just the best. He's the best heavyweight in Europe, mate. Without a shadow of a doubt. The only people I'd think twice about putting him in with is Vladimir Klitschko. I'd put him in with Vitaly tomorrow. And I really, genuinely mean that.
Do you sincerely think he's the best we've got in this country? What, potentially wise or right now?
I believe he's the best in the country now. And I believe he's the best by a country mile. You know, okay, we've got another heavyweight out there in Tyson Fury, who, make no mistake, has improved, is not a bad fighter. But boxing for me is all about levels, and David Price is on another level, possibly even in a totally different stratosphere to Tyson Fury. The golfing class is that big, and if they got in the ring, you would see the golfing class. So, you know, for me, David Price the best in the country. I believe he's already the best in Europe. He just needs a big fight. But, you know, listen, baby steps, because what's the rush? I believe we've got the best heavyweight in the world, the heir to the Klitschko throne. There's no need to rush it. You know, take your time, breathe it, and let him come through properly.
Well, he was put into a different stratosphere a few times, David Price, so he was right in a way.
Do you think when he was saying that David Price is the heir to the Klitschko's, he was saying we need to ship David Price off to Ukraine?
I don't know, but when he was calling for Vitaly tomorrow, imagine how that would have looked like. Fucking hell. He must really fucking hate David Price behind it all. Fucking easy. His takes are worse than the fucking Artman takes, you know, when they're just so fucking out there. Like, he's just throwing fucking spaghetti on the wall and hoping some of it fucking sticks. Like, yeah, he's the heir to the Klitschko throne. All right, Tony. Fucking Egypt, man.
Did anybody catch his interview with Carol Frotch on his podcast?
No.
So the only way Frotch is absolute quality for that dry humour type of way in that, right? And he's winding Tony up and he says about him being spread eagled against Usyk, and you can see Tony getting fucking wound up by it and stuff like that. And he says I think Tony responded with something by calling him like a fuckface and that, and Carol Frotch says, "What did you call me?" She's a fuckface. Says, "Yeah, I thought you called me that."
I'd say fucking Carl Frotch's WhatsApp was rattling on the morning that he was going to interview Tony Bellew with a load of fucking messages from Russ, giving him, piling up ammo to him, giving it up. Never been a champion, never been a champion.
That WhatsApp probably never stopped. I think Carol Frotch probably woke up to like 120 messages. Like being in the Nutters group or something like that, you know what I'm saying? All the fucking emails coming through for us.
Well, I included that one from Tony because we don't hear too much from him these days, but he has been on DAZN giving his opinion ahead of WrestleMania 40. Tony Bellew names the boxers who would make the best pro wrestlers. Just leave him alone, Andy.
Fuck's sake. Will he fuck off? He's fucking everywhere, isn't he? Jesus Christ.
Who's he say the best boxers would make the best wrestlers and that? Sylvester Stallone was the best of a lot of them. Oh, he took on Hulk Hogan, remember?
Took on Thunderlips in the flesh,
Thunderlips,
baby.
that's his name, Thunderlips. Thunderlips is here in the flesh, baby. Who else we got? The other boxers have been in. Joe Louis was involved with the wrestling for a wee bit, was he not?
Uh-huh.
You
know what Tony's like? He gives his opinion on anything.
Tony be out here defending Vince McMahon next week.
Great lad. Great lad. He's just got that propensity to have loose bowel movements amongst women when they're having sex with another bloke.
Johnny said he's never been a pro wrestler. Who's he to give an opinion?
Exactly.
Don't fucking rule it out.
See, they put Ali in the Hall of Fame. I seen something. It was ESPN were saying they put Ali in the Hall of Fame or something during the week.
Oh, really?
Aye. Apparently, he was at guest referee or something like that at the very first WrestleMania way back. I think that's the reason why.
Right.
His wife was there. His wife was there. That's what it was. I just seen it here. His wife was there. And she gave The Rock some sort of what's this? The people's champions belt or something.
Right. It wasn't the WBC People's Champions belt.
Well, I didn't see him anywhere, mate. Plus, I didn't see it could have been his mate there because you know how they dress up in the wrestling, that mate. He's me pal with the fucking there we go. Didn't see him kicking about anywhere. Plenty of Rey Mysterio was kicking about though, but none of that guy.
Anthony Gogo is wrestling these days, says Thomas Newman. He is indeed. Here's one for you, Matty. Anniversary of Bryant Goodfella Perella coming in against Abel Ramos, dressed in a full suit. You a fan of that kind of get up there, Matty?
That before a fight?
Yeah.
I remember Roy Jones came in dressed in a fight like that once, but it was a wee bit more spectacular than that, I must admit.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Like, yeah,
was a bow tie
came out looking all fucking gangster and shit.
Good fella Perella. In that fight, actually, he was beating the shit out of, I think it was Ramos, till about the last 5 seconds, and Jack Reese jumped in and stopped Perella as soon as he got hurt. So there you go. Another victim.
Partner of Keith Thurman.
Good fella Perella with his suit on. Lowest common denominator stuff, Andy. Nice view on the...
I've seen this fight.
Did you spot her?
Aye. I've seen her, mate. I've seen this fight as well. That Italian, actually, he's okay. I think there might be... I see that Thomas Piccaro's fighting next week, so they maybe have him fighting each other soon. All Italian affair.
It was bad that the two boys just kept clinching, so she'd break him up. That was fucking bad for him.
Didn't catch the name, though.
No, I'm not sure who she is. Thomas Piccirillo. I saw his name actually, Andy. I wonder if he's any relation. Do you remember Michel Piccirillo? He was like
Yeah,
a
I
called
remember the
Corey
one,
Spinks,
mate.
I think, didn't they?
Remember when you're talking about. I'm just going to
Yeah.
check see if that thing came up on the box right yet, actually, because you know what I'm saying.
No, I've seen her before in action, in the ring, doing her best.
There it is. Got it. I'll stick it in the chat there.
Stuff. Derek Chisora turning up at, was it some kind of Tory party conference, was it, Matty?
Oh, that's what's her name, by the way. What's her name?
Right. Poots. Okay.
No, I mean the
Liz Truss.
Liz Truss, that's the one. That's the one. Big Del boy getting there, just ready to take his fly out, man. Look at his hands are, man, ready to unzip himself. Look.
Ryan Dale said something like, "Oh, what was it now? I'm gonna physically shoot Rishi Sunak," and he goes, "Liz, cool down."
She fucking glossed me.
He is a good troll though, and he Andy Chisora, man. He turns up with Farage and all the little things.
He's probably been legit though, mate.
Probably.
He's probably been legit, you know. You know, if you're rich, you want to keep your money, man. You fucking vote for the Tories, I suppose. You know?
Well, I suppose so, exactly.
Especially hanging out with him, man, and hanging out with that one as well. Jesus Christ, the brain
Johnny
damage.
says a brain damaged moron in Derek Chisora.
He's on fire tonight, Johnny. He's fucking hell.
Oh, it was Farage's 60th birthday party, says Andrew Fickett. There you go. I wasn't sure.
I know what happened when the fucking cameras went down at that one.
I know what's happening in the bogs in there, by the bit all the weekend interns were in there with
Ryan Garcia turning up.
Ryan Garcia with the big buckets of lines and stuff like that, you know.
Wearing the old satanic red dress there, and the fucking, we know what's going on.
Aye.
Yeah. Oh dear me.
Getting past the bit like the. Oh, I'm not going to say it.
Here's a good one for you, Rob. Jared Anderson. I have a better IQ than Riyad Murray. How thick must Riyad Murray be?
Riyad Murray from Mensa?
I have a feeling that Jared Anderson's IQ is nothing close to the speeds that he has reached speeding away from cops.
I would imagine so, man. Oh dear me. What else have we got? Let's have a quick look. The Goat, well, she's a nomination in herself for last night, but Claressa Shields called Judge corrupt for having Rolly Romero up on points. You mentioned this one earlier, Andy. Chris Flores having Rolly a point up against Isaac Pitbull Cruz last weekend when Cruz had proceeded to beat the shit out of Romero. Mr. Flores saw otherwise.
Yeah. Claressa
Goat's
Shields.
not having it.
Yeah, well, you know what she's like, mate, but I'm sick of that woman. I really am. I don't know if I said it to you guys at the start or if I said it on the show and that, but I'm here for the day that she gets knocked out in boxing. It probably never happened because it's women's boxing, but I just want to be there for that day. Well, basically, I want to see it happen like a Bronner beatdown, like it's Maidana, something along those lines. That'll do. I'll settle. I'm not greedy. I'll settle for that.
My friend,
go ahead.
Sorry, buddy. My good friend, the rapper Vinny Paz, named after obviously the great Vinny Pazienza, said on Twitter last night, if Claressa Shields is on commentary, I'm switching to the Spanish feed. What an insufferable human being.
No way.
But the good news for Claressa Shields is that fight is fixed rhymes really well with pop my shit. So she's got that going for her.
Pop my shit is the new hot shit on the streets. Hot shit for the streets. Displacing Danny Garcia and Adrian Broner as the number one MC in boxing. Fuck me.
She was popping some shit last night at the Goat. Someone put this up as well, Matty. The live chat from, was this the German Universum card, the Jack Cullen card? We couldn't believe that there was 75,000 people in the chat until we had a closer look at the messages. We got, I'm determined to achieve greatness. I'm addicted to your content. You're making the world a better place. Are these all Jack Cullen fans, I'm assuming? This is pure gold. I believe in myself now. I think there's a few bots here, maybe.
It's not an AI robot in sight.
This is mesmerizing. You're on the path to greatness. You've got talent, Matty. You nailed it. You're on another level, bro.
So are you telling me that Johnny Horsecock Nelson is a bot?
Yeah, I think so.
The go-go bots in our chat. Fuck me.
Oh dear, that was a good one. Well, I didn't get the video to this, but Kia put this one up and says, Jesus, imagine your fucking stag do is just Big John having a Chinese with you, sad bastards. The Latvian electrician has nominated this Value of the Week. John, up there you are, the stag.
Dude, look at the excitement on your man's face. Look at fucking hell, man.
How did this happen?
If my mates did that on a fucking star, I'd be like, that's call the wedding off, man. Get him out of here, fuck's sake. Imagine. Saying that on my stag night, I fucking retired by TKO loss, so I can't say much for myself. Like, fuck me.
You're just lucky you weren't DQ'd and fined by the commission, Rob.
I should have been fucking DQ'd by the kebab house. I couldn't get out of the jacks.
Oh dear. We mentioned this one earlier, Matty. I can't remember if it was on or off air. No mercy. DAZN knew what they're doing when they decided to interview David Benavidez, who was a little under the influence.
He was off the fucking what's the pop? Is it the Casamigos in fucking? Is that the popular tequila now in America, Maddie? You tell me.
Oh God, people still drink a lot of Jose Cuervo, but I don't think Benavidez drinks Jose Cuervo. He probably drinks like Patron.
He could have been drinking codeine by this fucking judge of that interview where he was fucking in bits.
Was he wrapped, aye?
Oh,
he was, yeah.
Fucking in bits. He was fried.
With his big chain.
Man, codeine cough syrup does sound fun, though. Good point.
Ooh, there we are. Might be on that next. Jake has nominated this one. Ebony Bridges on YouTuber Boxing. She says, I know they're still throwing punches, but it's not really the same sport. They're just novices that have a name and they're there to make money. They're not boxers, but they are trying. We have Elle Brooking, and she tries just as hard as us boxers.
Jesus.
Ebbs, man. She's doing her best. Rob?
Former world champion, Ebony Bridges.
We haven't seen much of her these days. She pops up with McGregor the odd time, but she hasn't. Eddie's kind of washed his hands of her, hasn't he? He hasn't fucking touched her or had her back out.
It's probably maybe good
he's focusing on some other female stars in the roster. I don't know.
Exactly. You don't know what Ebbs is doing, riding a barn out, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, let's see. Who else have we got here?
For fuck's sake.
TalkSport covering Dave Allen versus Darnell in a 4-rounder is a solid Bellew of the Week contender.
I thought it was Darnell off Big Brother he was fighting.
Is that Alan Brazil on the TV?
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
He's just a floating head.
They need a fucking widescreen for him, like.
He's fucking. He's looking in good shape, though, isn't he? Brazil, for fuck's sake, he's like a walking bacon roll, man. Look at the fucking colour of his face. Jesus Christ.
He's gonna live till he's 100 in here, man.
Yeah, just spite us, man. We're all coming to my only season, that man. You fucking live these like 104, still eating bacon sarnies and drinking bottles of fucking.
I read what he loves red wine, doesn't he?
Just remember, he slaughtered Pacheco, didn't he? Before he got a Celtic job, he was like, "This is a fucking joke," and all. Never heard of this guy. And then Pacheco was on some Australian TV channel, and they were like, "Yeah, mate, he's been forced to eat some humble pie." Quite a lot of it by the look of him.
The Aussies are brutal sometimes, man.
Brutal, mate. Yeah.
Oh dear. Speaking of Aussies, Matty, I mentioned this one earlier. Sergio Mora talking about Sky Nicholson.
I mean, this was a really, really good performance and a great way to show the American fans what this Brit could do.
Wait, who can do
what this Brit can do?
Right on.
We don't want to.
The thing is, let's be absolutely truthful about this now. Let's just be objective. If you go through Sky Nicholson's family history tree or whatever, and that, right, you can guarantee there'll be a bit of British blood there. It's been handcuffed
some fucking pickpocket from the 1800s was sent out there.
Yeah, you absolutely positive. You know that's happened, man. So you know she's British. You know, at the end of the day, we all know this.
Brits out for the lads.
Matty can have a. We don't want to. No offense, Matt.
Huh?
I'm only joking. Right, those are all the ones that I've managed to cut in time for this week. I'm sure there were more, but that's all I could manage. Anything from you this week, Andy?
I got one for Declan Graffin, mate. He forwarded me a picture and our man AB out on the run. Division no notice, but I swear to God, mate, he's carrying some gut there. Like I swear to God, I even swear he's carrying like a girl in there to try and push it back a bit as well. You know,
sake, that's disappointing. Now I thought AB was on the right track since he signed with Don King and called Rolly Romero Rolly Retardo. Oh lordy, I thought he was on the right path. It's disappointing to hear.
It's so childish, man. It's like fucking think like a 12-year-old talking shit, but it's great. It is absolutely great.
One other. This is an old one, but I don't know. Someone has re-upped it to Twitter the other day there, and it's a video of Snoop Dogg and Kevin Hart. I completely forgot. I don't know if you remember, Matty, but they apparently did the boxing for, was it NBC?
I think they did like a
Didn't they do a trailer or something?
Yeah, they done Triller, didn't they?
So high as
Roy
fuck.
Jones,
Anyway, they did the
Oh, shit,
highlights.
gangster.
They did a highlight show for, like, say, the Olympics and that. It was the time Keyshawn Davis got beat off Andy Cruz, right? And Keyshawn Davis is literally in the camera talking shit. Where he's this, that, the next thing. Meanwhile, in the background, you got Andy Cruz dancing a jig like he's the winner. And then you go cut back to the studio and you go Snoop Dogg and Kevin Hart absolutely cooking the ass off Keyshawn Davis for talking shit after just getting his ass beat over fucking 3 rounds in the Olympics. It was some glorious content, like.
That's like the time AB said that he beat Manny Pacquiao and he did it from the hood. He did it for the hood, and everyone in the hood were all fucking flaming him on Twitter, going, "Don't fucking bring us into this."
Oh, Steve, I don't think you can clip me this one, mate, just because of the eyes, mate. The eyes say it all with that one.
Yeah,
as you can imagine, that Chico didn't last long. Typical Bosnian, mate. He got absolutely, I'm sure he got iced in a few rounds.
Oh, I've seen him before. Who's he fought before on the scene?
No much, mate. No much, as you can see. 22 and 42, mate. That's his record. So
Oh, right.
hasn't he really fucking fought much, to be fair? And
He's unlucky in some of them.
Well, you see how it ended, mate. He literally took one shot, I think it was, to the body, and that was it. He just kind of like fell on his knees, spat out his gum shield, and wanted like going to labour or whatever it was, mate. At that point, you know. But
Like fucking Fabio Silva today when he got fucking touched.
Hey, Wolves legend Fabio Silva.
Stonewaller, mate. You
can
tell
have
him.
him.
Fuck off.
Stonewaller, mate.
Yeah, fuck off.
35.
Oh, fuck's sake.
That guy
Oh,
looks
there he
like
is.
Eddie Hall if he didn't hit the gym.
It does actually, doesn't it?
He does a wee bit. He does.
True Geordie.
Well, I think that's all I've got, mate. To be fair. Sorry, Tim Cheatham for that discussion.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
that's where I was going to go.
Yeah, Declan Graffin nominated him as well. Anything else, Matty?
Let's see here. Teddy Atlas compared Subriel Matias to Joe Louis. I think that is worthy of a mention. And I thought there was one more in there. If I might think of it again, but yeah, definitely Teddy Atlas comparing Matias to Joe Louis.
Okie doke. Roberto.
Ryan Garcia for saying that the New York earthquake is staged. There's going to be one in California soon as well. He has all the inside intel these days. And Ryan Garcia for his interview with Alex Jones, which is absolutely fucking hilarious. He's clearly trolling with this Bohemian Grove shit and all. Like, I don't fucking believe a word out of his mouth, because Alex Jones is like trying to put the words in his mouth. So he's like, "You're saying you were raped at Bohemian Grove, Ryan? You don't want to give us the details?" He's like, "I'm going to give all the proof eventually, Alex. It's coming out. I have it. I'm going to just tell everybody." He's like, "So it's fucking hilarious, man. One of the fucking most unlikely fucking partnerships. Who would have thought at the start of the year, fucking Ryan Garcia and Alex Jones would be fucking going
No way. Where's that, man?
Infowars?
What's that? Where'd you see that?
It's clipped on YouTube, but it's from the Infowars broadcast. But Alex Jones is kicked off of fucking YouTube now or whatever. But somebody re-uploaded it. It's hilarious, man. And Garcia is like fucking spoofing his way through the whole interview. He doesn't. He's not giving him anything. Like, and Jones is fucking going for a hook, line, and sinker. He's just wanting something. Like, you know what I mean? It's fucking.
Let me just say now that if Ryan Garcia through this interview gets like a following of like conspiracy nuts, and there's like a Q section rooting for him of, you know, QAnon followers, and Devin Haney fucking knocks him out, I win even more than I could have ever imagined. My cup runneth over. Like,
get on to 4chan, Matty.
What a fantastic fucking outcome that would be for
No
him.
way.
I tell you what, you can shoot that one down, because I'm a conspiracy theorist myself, but nobody's letting Bill Haney in the Illuminati, right? He's not getting in the fucking door, right? Not letting him drink the baby's blood. No, fuck, keep Bill outside the door. Fuck that shit.
So, Rob, what you're saying is that if Haney wins, this fight does not come down to adrenochrome.
I don't know. Devin Haney's looking strong at 140. Where's all this power come from?
Garcia's going to turn up with Anthony Crawler on Channel 5 next week.
Oh, man. If fucking Richard D. Hall walks into the ring, it'd be the fucking best thing ever. Imagine the brown corduroy jacket.
Carrying his
just walking
belt. On a horse. He's on a horse.
It's just big fucking fighter facts full of fucking evidence-based research on his shoulder. Amazing.
Oh, you could have Elusive Raph doing the analysis like Peter Hyatt.
We're getting some niche. Do you know what? If nobody else gets the fucking jokes on this pod, we get it. Brilliant. That is fucking outstanding. Oh, fuck's sake.
Oh dear. Right, let's go through them very quickly then. So we had Sky Nicholson. We had Tony Bellew turning up. Bryant Perella in his Goodfella costume. We had the lovely referee. Big fan of her. Not such a big fan of her, but she's with Derek anyway at Nigel Farage's birthday. Jared Anderson telling us all how clever he is. The Quote going in on judges. We had bots in the chat. We had Big John turning up at Stag Do's. We had Wasted, Benavides, Ebony Bridges, Dave Allen on TalkSport, and finally Drazan Janjanin, plus Tim Cheatham as well with a nomination. Andy, who are you going for this week?
I'm gonna go for Del Boy actually.
Del Boy hanging out with Liz Truss.
Yeah, I mean, I need to know more about it. There's going to be some fucking WhatsApp pictures kicking about somewhere. So
let me ask you: Do you
is
think...
he doing a Mason's hand sign there, Matty? Is he doing a Mason's hand sign?
Oh,
what's he doing there?
You never
no,
know,
mate. He's going to
be
unzip his fly. That's what he's doing.
Let me ask you this: Do you think that Liz Truss lasted longer in Parliament, or Derek Chisora lasted longer in Liz Truss?
For flip's sake. No way. We're going to be on InfoWars now.
Well, there's no quitting him anyway. In
What did they throw about Mayor Liz Truss on the table?
He glass dildoed me.
I'm going to physically shoot my load into Liz Truss.
Oh dear. Okay,
we gotta be honest here. We gotta be honest here.
Matty, who you going for?
Yeah. After that back and forth, I'm going with Del Boy and Liz. Fuck it.
Yeah, me too. I think as well. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, no, it's got to be Del Boy. He's doing a Masonic sign to the fucking VAR room there in Scotland. Look at him. So tell the Masons, activating the Masons there. Look at him. Fucking hell. Yeah, big Del Boy. Actually, honourable mention to Clarissa Shields and Alicia Baumgartner, who had an exchange on the zone and it was caught off camera. They continued it and Baumgartner was mouting at her. Baumgartner was looking spectacular, by the way. All is forgiven.
Actually,
for fuck's sake. Yeah. But she was all done up there, and Clarissa comes in typical Clarissa Shields style, mouting off in the side. But Baumgartner was like, "You never knocked nobody out," and she goes, "Yeah, but we know how you knock people out because you were a drug cheat." That was fucking amazing. So Clarissa Shields going up a notch in my estimation. There, who's on notch one.
Were you ready to buy a Vindicated t-shirt last night, Rob?
Oh, I've already got mine in the post. Liz Truss looks like Holly.
She actually does a wee bit. Sorry, Holly.
You say that far too much.
Right, there you go. Then congratulations, Derek Chisora and Liz Truss. You are the joint Bellew of the Week winners.
First thing Liz has won in years.
For episode 567. Back to you, Matty. Thank you.
Oh, it's been a good time. I'd like to thank the Dr. FMG for his super chat. I'm going to give Andy a quick one before we get out of here. Beat Bop Boop. Ask Benny Lynch versus Jackie Patterson. Who's Scotland's number one?
Benny Lynch.
Benny Lynch. What era are these guys fighting?
Lynch is probably just the era before Patterson. I think Patterson was the next Scottish flyweight champion after Benny Lynch, I think. So I think we're talking Lynch was the early 30s. Patterson, I think, was the early 40s, I think.
Jim Watt's only number 2, is he?
Nah, Jim Watt will be running about. He'll be in the top 10.
Ken Buchanan be
Ken Buchanan be number 2. Ken Buchanan be number 2. I'd probably put Jackie Patterson number 3. Scottish fighters, that is. Sorry.
Where Beat Bob Boop is getting these questions from? You fucking spend
your weekends in
a time machine?
No, I don't think he is. I don't think he is. No.
He's got the American flag going on in his avatar.
What do you think about this kid, Harry Greb? He's going to be the champion of the world.
But we do appreciate that Beat Bop Boop, and we do appreciate you, Dr. FMG, very much for getting those chats in there. I know it's a little bit of a slow week tonight, but this week, but we will have some things obviously to go over next week, and we'll also be previewing the big fight between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney in fucking battle between weird asses. It's I do believe that the build up to this fight might be far more interesting than the fight itself, but we shall find out. But I'd like to thank Andy.
Quick one, Matty, quick one before you go.
Sure.
And Andy's avatar, Hagler Hearns, 37 years ago yesterday. Who won?
That's Hagler McGabby, actually.
Oh, is this? Oh, sorry. Fucking Hagler Leonard. I even said sorry. Hagler Leonard was 37 years ago yesterday. But who won?
Leonard.
113,
113. All the time.
Draw. The parlay has it on the draw. Look at fuck's sake.
And as you mentioned earlier, Andy, me, you, and Rob and Des were on last night. Jermaine Taylor, Carl Froch, 15 years next week or the week after.
It was crazy to think as well by how much we were just talking about this last night as well, lad, just to finish off with how far the streaming services have come in for the last 15 years, because Froch against Taylor was not live TV in the UK. Steve, I think was it Prime Time or something like that? Or
something like Premier Sports.
Premier Sports,
yeah,
I believe it was a shambles trying to get it.
£10 Mick Hennessy stream, and we couldn't get it for love nor money. Yeah.
Back when I was like fucking Maddie, I used to buy everything back in them days.
I think
the
I think the BBC showed it on the Sunday night.
ITV showed it on delay the next day.
Yeah, delay the following night. So wild, 15 years later, by look at us, we could basically stream it any way we want.
Exactly.
Hey, is the clip one the one that I like, Steve? The 22nd Froch Taylor?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. You can play it if you want, yeah?
Yeah.
First time he's been knocked down in his career. 26 seconds left. Can Taylor finish him? Taylor has him wounded.
Oh, that was from when
Jermaine
Taylor hurt him.
Taylor did not finish it, and it came back to haunt him. 10 seconds.
What?
Yeah, sorry, it's clip 2. I know which you're referring to. It's clip 2.
That was it. Was that one? And I was ashamed I couldn't join you guys for that one. That was a fantastic fight, and I think that showed the world a whole lot about Carl Froch. But for Taylor to have, it sucks for him. I mean, to be on the wrong end of two incredible fights, within a couple of years of each other. The first being the Cali Pavlik fight. He had a really, really rough time. And then that knockout against Arthur Abraham.
That's what we said.
It was unbelievable. He came back after that. Like, it was,
him.
Well, it was weird. If you remember in the Sam Solomon fight, like you look at his eyes and it's like the lights were on, but no one's home, man. Like something was wrong with that dude. But anyways, I'm sure you guys got into plenty of that on the Punches from the Past. Jermaine Taylor.
It's worth a few quid, the Patreon, by the way. I know we don't plug it that much or whatever, but the Punches from the Past, like, I love doing the pod, obviously, the live pod and the crack we have on Value of the Week and calling the fights as we have. But to be able to go back to some of the classic nights and fucking have the fucking full review of them, it's good stuff. So, yeah, it's worth a few quid in Patreon if you're going to get it.
Yeah, these... The extra work behind the scenes is pretty incredible. These guys, we might get bored and pissed off at boxing as it is today, but when you get back to the great fights in not only just recent years but far back, that definitely brings back the passion a lot of the times. And some of the time, those are going to be the funnest podcasts that you're going to get, are reviews of those classics. But you can check all of that out on our Patreon. But we will catch you guys next week, and we will be previewing that fight with Haney and Garcia and everything that comes along with it. I'd like to thank Andy Patterson, Rob Kelly, and Steve Wellings for joining us today. It has been a fantastic show per usual, and we will see you folks next week. If I can find the outro. There it is.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to Adam move! We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking soul that can fight me.
I fell asleep. You're a fucking bum. You're a fucking asshole.
Grumpo fucking Stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. 7-year ain't.
I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds. Simple as that.